Chicagoland Motor Speedway and the iRacing NTT IndyCar Series FIXED right here on VirtualRacing.Network. So glad to have you here live with us as we watch round 5 of 12. It's going to be 75 laps of action here at Chicagoland, and the cars are just heading out onto the track now. Of course, this week I'm very happy to be joined again, as I have been all season long, by the great Gary Godso. And Gary, you covered it on Monday. It was a heck of a race. Should be exciting all day today here at Chicagoland.
IndyCar IRL history here. Of the 10 closest finishes in IRL history or IndyCar history, the 7th, the 4th, the 2nd, and the 1st were made here at this racetrack. The beneficiary of that was Slam Hornish on a couple occasions, and the person that got caught most of the time on the short end of the stick was Scott Dixon, 3 of those 4 times. But if we go green to the end, we're going to see something very similar. We're going to see probably some pack racing today. The track temperature's cool. It's only 90 degrees right now. I expect it to go up a little bit during race time, but I don't expect it to get to the point where these cars are going to start getting separated because of a hot track and old tires.
Well, we await to see what kind of day we're going to have, but if it's anything like the Chicagoland that we've come to know and love, we will be looking forward to a lot of close racing with everybody trying to figure out sort of how to get around each other. It's a fun challenge for them to figure out here on this mile and a halfer. So we're going to see if we can get the stats up there, but we've got we've got Jorge Varela in P1, Pablo Diaz-Francis in P2, Nacho LDR in P3, and Alvaro Gonzalez in P4 at the moment. Thomas Christensen P5 for Three Crowns Racing, Matthew Turner P6, Gabriel Amer for P7, Jesper Orman P8. So we await Bertrand Cordier, Daniel Porter, KF Smith, Laurent Archambault, and AJ Musselman, who have not yet put in a qualifying lap, trying to see if there's anybody else out there at the moment.
I think that's it.
Maybe it.
I don't see any other cars on the track right now. 220.655 is your speed for your provisional pole sitter. That's not quite a track record here. These guys have yet to really do track record speeds by themselves. Track record is a 223.159 set by fellow iRacer Richie Hearn. The race record actually is held by Lionheart himself, Dan Weldon, with 194 miles per hour over a 300-mile race back in 2006. So this track is all about speed, and you're going to see lots of it coming up. Remember, only 3 sets of tires. They start with 1, have 2 more in the pits. That's going to play a role. And we're going to see how far they go, really, on these fuel runs, much like we saw at the other mile-and-a-half ovals. The window is going to open around lap 25, 24, 25, 26 to go the distance. And we have heard that maybe pitting early is an advantage. We will see what some of these guys have decided they want to do. Some might just want to be like, Hugo is pretty much all the time. Just wait till that tank is dry before pulling into pit road. Others, like a lot of the Necky guys, they like to pit early. But when you pit early, it puts you at a disadvantage in case a yellow comes out. And we did have about 4 yellows that came out on the Monday race. And we're only, I think, 2 points higher than the Monday race in terms of strength of field. So we have a very similar group of guys here that are getting ready to go at it.
Similar group, a few different names in the field. And still same thing as last week and weeks before. Our software giving us lots of glitches, but we finally have a ticker back up there for everybody to see. And this is a great group here that's formed on Championship Thursday, Gary. Of course, internally calling it the Eurosoft, but we do have Tim Tomes, Howard Livingston joining the field from the United States, AJ Musselman choosing not to qualify, Bertrand Cordier and KF Smith, all of the United States. And then from Japan, Masato Shimizu, apologize for that, Kazuhiro Shiba from Japan as well. So great drivers checking in from all around the world for this split. And with just 2 more strength of field than on Monday, it's not necessarily going to be worth more points to win here today. However, we will get the points up there on the screen for you to check out, and it is Pablo Diaz-Frances who leads the points currently. He's done 5 races thus far this or 5 weeks thus far this season. Jesper Orman now in second, Christopher Demerit. So a couple of these drivers having done already some races this week. But you note Hugo Olsen has not, as well as Adriano Pinero. Pinero, I think, maybe sitting this one out this week, but we'll look forward to seeing him back in action next week. So Olsen could take over the points, but one interesting thing to note, incidents per race there and the average starting position. All of the top 10 drivers starting in that top 10 for each one of the races that they have been in. All of them averaging up in the top 10. And then, of course, Pablo Diaz-Frances, who will be starting on pole position. No, I'm sorry, Jorge Varela starting on pole position with Pablo Diaz-Frances just on the outside. Pablo with the highest incidents per race of that group. We'll be watching that one today. But we're underway here, Gary.
It's a mass devil party up at the front. Everyone else is haven't really turned in their invitation to RSVP. Did you have 4 of the top 6 cars right there, all teammates? And I bet you they're wanting to kind of get out and get around those 3 Crowns and Nicky guys and kind of lock them out.
Well, team strategy, a big deal here anyway in the Fixed Series, but at a race like this where you really can't walk off the front, you can have a good teammate there. Jorge Varela is having Nacho LDR just to his outside, flanking him. You might be able to keep everybody else at bay behind you, but you see Pablo Diaz-Frances back into 3rd, and Alvaro Gonzalez now into 4th, taking that spot from Thomas Christensen, who's dropped now into, or actually that's where he started, in 5th. So Diaz-Frances there to the bottom in 3rd. I have a feeling this is what we're going to see a lot of. You're going to see Gabriel Amer for Mass Devils Racing coming forward as well, fighting with Thomas Christensen. So Mass Devils now with 4 cars in the top 5, and they're looking pretty strong here today. But there's a name you recognize right there. Thomas Geisler right now in 7th place, racing with Team Race First with Sunset Arctic. The only driver from Team Race First in the field. But he'll be looking, hopefully, at getting one of those top 5s today. He raced pretty well last week.
Yeah, he had kind of a disappointing race on Monday. I think he learned a lot, and he's applying it to use today. Kind of like Monday was the PSAT, and this is the SAT. He probably learned a lot. He's putting in good use right now, but he's looking like he's making sure that his nose is getting plenty of air, and I'm watching him right now, and he's staying with that draft. And right now, we're really, I think it's Ike right behind him. And that top 7 is almost getting ready to break away and form their own pack.
I mean, that is an impressive thing to get 4 of your team members up at the front of what is essentially an official open to anybody race to show up to. And Mass Devils Racing really looking impressive there. But as you mentioned, Tommy G and a number of independents in the field, not racing with a particular team or just one driver for the team. And you know, don't look now, but Geisler's right there in 4th place. So
yep.
doesn't matter that he doesn't have 3 teammates to guide him. He's got everybody else's draft to work off of.
At least these top 3 very reminiscent of 1994 kart, Team Penske with Al Unser Jr., Emerson Fittipaldi, and Paul Tracy, always at the top of every pretty much race that year. It was often to see them finish 1, 2, 3, and always to see the same livery car with that Team Marlboro Team Penske back then. And getting 3 cars identical up front kind of gives me reminiscent memories of that. But coming down at the bottom, we got Team Race First with Geisler, and also sneaking in there with Team Talent is Ike, who had the purple lap for a while, but has moved to Musselman, who's actually shotgun on the field at the moment, so he must be getting a heck of a tow back there. 25 flat is the current speed right now for the purple speed.
This is amazing battle happening at 200 plus miles per hour, 224 in the draft. Alvaro Gonzalez shows on his dashboard there. But this track race is just about different than any other mile and a halfer out there, Gary. We were talking about that ahead of the broadcast. You've got Kansas out there, and last week's Charlotte is a mile and a half exactly, but you couldn't find 2 tracks that are more different than these 2.
Now, Charlotte is a bit of an older track. This track opened up in 2001. Charlotte's been around since the 60s. Charlotte is also a quad oval where it has that double dog leg on the front stretch, where this is more of a tri-oval. It has that gentle arc on the front stretch. It's not as banked as Charlotte, but it's wider than Charlotte. And it doesn't funnel off in turns 3 and 4 like you really saw in Charlotte. That didn't really allow cars to get together and do pack racing like this. Now we're 3 wide going into turn 1 with Geisler up there on the top side. But that's the other thing that allows here is you've got 3 lines. You only had 2 lines really to use at Charlotte. Here you got 3 lines, and they're going to use every single one of those lines all race long. Trust me.
That strategy is to figure out some sort of a way to get by these 2 Mass Devils Racing teammates that are up at the front right now. I don't know if you can pull it off on pace, as we see a driver getting quite high there, starting to fall back. I believe that was Thomas Christensen. Jumped down low, and yes, in fact, Christensen falling back now behind Tim Tomes. So Tim Tomes racing for Scours and Christensen for Three Crowns Racing with IAR. Jesper Orman also with Three Crowns Racing, and Matthew Turner with Three Crowns Racing. Now that's a team that's been well supported in this championship, but they're looking at running a little bit further back, and that's yet another strategy. Rather than necessarily trying to get up there in the mix and get up in the front and try and dominate that way, it's another strategy. Just kind of wait it out, wait for the end, see if the lap cars might interfere. I know we were talking about your Monday race, and that played a role at the very end there as well.
Check out the line with Thomas Geisler running there in P3. He's taking a slightly, he's got the high line, mainly because it doesn't have anywhere else to go. But the high line around here gives you a heck of a run because you're not scrubbing off as much speed down these straights. You're not going to see it here. Watch it. We're going to go 4 wide here for tri-oval. But you're going to watch him on the top side. He's going to dip down a little bit, probably catch the draft of the car in front of him, which is LDR, and then he goes back up to the high side, and that high side just really unwinds, and he'll be parallel with those cars right at the back, at the end of the backstretch. He is right there almost.
And now if you were at Charlotte or another track where you might be able to utilize that high side run a little bit more, you might be able to actually pass both of those cars to the inside. But here you can see Tommy G trying to hold that high line. He wasn't able to dip down, and as a result, he's now side by side for P3 and not with the leaders. So you got to be careful with how you do it and figure out the exact times to head forward. Wow. Gonzalez drifting up in front of Geisler and just giving him all the dirty air that he can handle. That's it gets real difficult when you go into these corners following that close behind another car, Gary.
Team Talent locking out the front again. You got Geisler, Ike, and Tomes up there. Tomes worked his way up a little bit. He is up 4 spots. Ike up 6. Some guys not having good days. Turner down 6, Gorman down 6 at the moment, but we're still early days of this race right now. No reason to panic. As long as you catch the draft, you'll be okay.
As long as you can catch that draft. You know, another thing, even if you were to fall off the draft, if you could find a friend that's willing to swap some draft and go forward, that might be a way too. Be able to catch back up. Either way, everybody, this is very much like a restrictor plate sort of race where everybody is just held into the same pack together, and you move around and you try to figure out really where you want to be with 10 to go. And I guarantee you it will, these drivers will not settle for any particular team to own the front of this race at the end of this race. They will be coming forward in mass and giving the Mass Devils Racing all they can handle. But in the meantime, you just got to survive. You got to make sure you don't get caught up in any incidents. You don't cause an incident. And certainly will be on the watch out for that. With any drivers that might be trying to use some net code or other things to their advantage, possibly pick up a position, we will be on the lookout here. VirtualRacing.Network, camera switching, eagle eye, trying to find all the battles through the field. But it's just one big pack, so everybody kind of fighting for one position at the moment. We look a little bit further back and see Gabriel Amer, Masato Shimizu, and Guillermo Paccaril for Mass Devils Racing. So that's 2 drivers for Mass Devils now actually sliding back out of the top 10. So not everything peachy keen for Mass Devils at the moment. We drop back a little bit further. We can see Jesper Orman just ahead, or actually just now on the inside of Rodrigo Franzoni. Franzoni last week with a fantastic pole position, qualifying next to Adriano Pinero. Unfortunately, meeting the rough end of the iRacing sword and being put out of the race at the hands of another competitor very early on in that race. So fortunately, he's perhaps this is a reaction, and Rodrigo Franzoni qualified in 17th and he's just kind of hanging back, trying that Rick Mears approach that that you've talked about before, Gary.
That Rick Mears approach is qualifying good, kind of follow to the back if your car is not working for you, get it better, and be there at the end. That's really only when it matters. And besides, when you're in a pack race like this, when you get to the front, where are you going to go when you get there? You can't break away. Oh, we got a car in the wall. Top shoe on turn 2, out of turn 2.
And it's Tim Tomes. Unfortunately, we were just talking about him. He had gotten up into the top 5, broken that pack open. And as a result, unfortunately, that one is going to... Oh, and it's also Thomas Christensen. Let's go ahead and see if we can figure out what happened there. We'll go back, and it looks like the incident's already happening at that point, so we'll back it up just a little bit further.
He got loose mid-corner, got it corrected, got it caught, but he lost so much momentum that the closing rate was so great that... who came up into him? Christensen came right up into him. Wow, that's the fault to no one. That's just one of those racing incidents, and also for Christensen, it's just wrong place, wrong time. But their days might be over. We'll see if their virtual crews can slap on some parts and throw on some helicopter virtual tape there and try to hold them together. Maybe get a couple more laps in for points, but in terms of being in a position to win, they will not be in that position. So I was getting ready to say while you're talking, the pit window did open, so I expect everybody's going to be pitting coming down pit road right now.
And indeed, you're right. Also, Guillermo Paccarul having a massive issue there. I cannot figure out what just happened. Let me see if we can tell. He was struck from behind by another driver, the 17 car, which I don't have on my screen right now. Daniel Porter, who's currently in first position. He was struck from behind by Daniel Porter, and I wish I could say that I knew. I guess Porter just not getting it stopped in time, unfortunately, and sending Paccarul to pit road to get repairs. That was an unfortunate one.
Yeah, I don't know if he took his eye off the he may be looking at a black box or cycling through his black boxes or something. And again, even at slow speeds, the closing rates of these cars are really fast, and if you're not paying attention, you get rear-ended. And that is always one of my common fears that I have when I get in these races, especially under caution. I will dip down to low to the inside and make sure I am well out of the way, because I just know there's people behind me not paying attention, and I don't want to be one of those victims. But unfortunately, it looks like Guillermo is one of those victims today. Hopefully it gets repaired so he's back up to speed, but it looks like the hit might have been hard enough. There might be underbody tray damage there, and that's going to affect his impact his overall speed going forward. He'll definitely need to stay in the draft to stay up with the pack. But if he loses the draft, he's just going to be on his own.
It's something we're all used to, unfortunately, on iRacing, and definitely, as you said, getting it slowed down for these caution periods is something that never gets easier, really, to get used to. And you know, you get the wave around period, and you got to hurry up to get to the back of the pack. Very easy to make contact with somebody if you're just you're accelerating and you're not quite timing it right. Come up to the back of the pack and just slam into somebody, but that's never something that you want to see, especially at this level of racing. And unfortunate that one of the competitors has to deal with that. But fortunately for us, we're about to go back to green flag racing here. Everybody's been able to get their first pit stop done. And we're
going to go to the distance.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless we have more yellow flags and it makes sense for these drivers to dip in for more tires.
Yeah, that last set of tires.
We shall see. It is Jorge Varela of Mass Devils Racing who leads Nacho LDR. Alvaro Gonzalez of Mass Devils Racing and Andreas Ike of Team Talent. They got a heck of a push off of that start.
Yeah, that's the benefit of being three teammates on the same voice channel where you count it down 1, 2, 3, and we're all gone. And when you're P4 in this case, P5, you look ahead and you go, oh, they gone. You can just hope that they got to reel him back in, and I think he will with the draft. But that is totally all a benefit of being on the same voice channel with your teammates, and you can count that down. And, hey, if you can plan it that way, that's the benefit of being on a team.
You bet. And not only that, but another name that we haven't been talking about quite enough, Aaron McQuarrie, who was in our race last week. He's the number 16 car, which out of 23 cars should tell you about where his I rating is in relative to others, but he's right up there in the mix. Tommy G just on his inside going by.
Aaron just doing everything right that he needs to do, keeping the car clean, keeping it free of other cars, other incidences, and as Tommy G almost slides up in front of him, he's running the high line, which is a good line for the tires and keeping up your speed. Doing everything, I would say, by the book. For a pack racing, if there needs to be a pack racing book, I think he's following every step of it right now.
Well, I wonder who's going to write that book. For those of you interested, speaking of books, want to know more about how to run the Dallara IR-18 IndyCar, just released. Brandon Trano, legendary Indy 500 winner and I5G frontman, just wrote an entire manual on how to run the Dallara IR-18 IndyCar. He did.
I was jokingly, and I told the guys, I said that is the most in-depth manual I've seen on how to drive an IndyCar since IndyCar Racing 2. Since that manual. So
back when games came with manuals.
Back when an actual manual, yeah, and your copy protection was to go to page 5 and read what, the third word of paragraph 4 or something like that. But it looks like we got back up into the mix here is Francis. He's moved his way past Gonzalez and Geisler, and now he's up in P3.
Well, now I think we're starting to see some of the real front runners coming up forward. It's we're just coming up over halfway here very shortly, and Varela LDR Francis now up into third, and it's been a Mass Devils 1, 2, 3 holding the front of this one, but here comes Francis back for Necky Racing Team, and Tommy G there for Team Raceverse with Sunset Arctic, as well as Andreas Ike, Team Talon, and Jesper Orman for Three Crowns Racing.
Matthew Turner in that P9. I mean, we got a group of 9 cars that are hovering with the blanket. They're all right on top of one another. We're gonna go 4 wide, try to go into turn 3 there. A little early for that, fellas. Don't do that.
Please don't ever do that. In our Indy Elite race, on the start, they went 4 wide. That was the only time because we all crashed.
Caution
Yellow flag. I'm not sure for who. We are looking and scanning. KF Smith.
Yeah, we got a car in the backstretch that was spinning. Not sure what exactly happened, but that is KF Smith.
indeed. I can't tell if that was a solo incident. No, looks like racing with one of the Masked Devils racing team, and he gets loose in front of KF Smith. KF was just hanging on, and unfortunately, it was almost like Tim Tomes just getting loose in front of Christensen. And speaking of which, Christensen's still buried in the pits. I think that's it for his day.
And I'm wondering if that's a result of the damage received under the caution. The cars, if you do get them damaged too much, they will alter the way they handle, and you need to maybe go completely the opposite direction on the bars or the weight jacker. And KF Smith was kind of spinning the wheels a little bit too much on the background. Probably should have punched out, because then here comes a bunch of cars by him, almost collected the whole field, and then he punches out. Yeah, if you're going to get into a situation like that, you know the cars are coming, just go ahead and punch out. There's nothing wrong with the toe. But that a little dangerous there, staying trying to get the car straight to recollect it. But I think that might have been a result of Guillermo getting rear-ended because the car's handling is changed due to the damage.
Sure. And you're trying to follow another car in, keep that draft, and you know, you think everything's going to be safe. And that's why we talk about this. You know, it maybe not in this race, but in some races it breaks open, and you know, you've got a second or two gap up to the front and to the next car and behind you, and it can just be really easy to fall asleep or follow somebody into the corner a little too close, and the next thing you know, they lose it in the corner and you're into the back end of them. And I mean, it's you know, fortunately these are only 75 lappers here in the iRacing NTT IndyCar Fixed series, but it's still enough that you get settled in lap after lap. Maybe you've fallen off the back a little bit, maybe you're racing in the middle of the pack, and again, it's just hard to anticipate that somebody's going to get loose in front and collect you. But you have to assume everybody you're going to race next to or behind potentially is going to lose it. What happens if they hit the apron and start sliding up the track? Am I giving myself enough room? All these calculations, as well as the rest of your strategy that you have to stay focused on, as well as the other drivers that are talking to you in your ear. You got to stay focused on all of that in order to pull off the win, and that's why these guys are, and gals are, as good as they are and up at the top in the top split.
KF Smith is not happy with Guillermo at all. I'm just watching the chat window there. He was saying that Guillermo was blocking. I don't know if he was blocking. It looked like he got loose to me, and just kind of, it was one of those racing deals, probably as a result, again, of the damage. But definitely some unhappy souls that are out there. But right now, looking at this, I'm hearing drivers out there trying to burn off that excess fuel. That's the sound you hear with the engines racing. There's probably drivers out there that got it calculated down to the last drop. And that's just extra weight, and they're just trying to burn that off under caution. So there's a number of cars doing that right now under caution. So that tells me that a good number of these guys are good to go to the distance for sure, and they're just trying to lighten up a little bit.
Indeed, just trying to get it down to exactly the right amount that they need. Hopefully they don't go a little too far. But by now they'd have their fuel numbers. They know exactly what they're running and exactly how much it's going to take to get to the very end. Now, in these cars especially, with everybody coming in on the same lap, and with there being everybody having exactly the same setup, you've got to employ any trick that you can. So burning off excess fuel, always part of the game plan.
I did notice the Silent Assassin Dave Stedman did come in under caution that time. Not sure why. I got to check. Maybe he went for his last set of tires, and but there was only a couple laps on that set, so I'm not sure why someone would go to their third set of tires with only about 5 laps or so on the old ones. Maybe he was maybe he didn't get enough fuel in and had an opportunity to top it off. But he was the only car under this caution to make a pit stop that wasn't as a result of damage.
You know, something else I'm looking at, look at the back of this field. There are some drivers that can still make some noise. Picking up 7 positions in 12th place. AJ Musselman, excuse me, I always mispronounce it. AJ Musselman there in 12th, picking up 7. Rodrigo Franzoni just behind, picking up 4 positions. We're about ready to go green again, but You got to watch for these drivers coming from the back with that strategy of, hey, there's we're just coming up on 20 to go here pretty soon. Actually, just coming up on 30 to go here pretty soon. But it'll be gone in a blink of an eye. I want to get into that top 10, be ready to go for the last 20 laps here. Jorge Varela of Mass Devils Racing and Nacho LDR just behind, lead us back to the green flag on lap 42.
Yeah, I did check the tire history, and Porter, Stedman, Guillermo, Combs, and Archibald, I think they're already out, but there's 5 guys that have already gone to their last set of tires. So some people in the back are going to the last set. They got a long way to go still.
That's pretty cool that you know how to check on that. I don't know how to get that info, but I'll have to figure that one out. Gary Godso bringing all the stats and knowledge to VirtualRacing.Network once again. Thanks, Gary. So they're back up there. Well, we got 3 out of the top 5 Mass Devils racing at the moment. Necky Racing up there as well. But it looks pretty similar to how it started, with the exception of Thomas Geisler coming forward. And yet another one. Unfortunately, it's Howard Livingston this time. What has taken place for the Care Camps machine driver?
I saw smoke as the leaders were coming off of 4. Let's see what happened to him. Might be one of those classic the cars. Oh no, that's contact. That's contact.
It's definite contact. I have to see if yeah, it's the 17 car again. Unfortunately, making contact. That's Daniel Porter, and he had Porter, of course, had just come out with repairing that damage. And so let's see here if we can follow on board with Livingston. Does Livingston come down a little bit? I think Livingston comes down a little bit. Porter comes up a little bit. I don't know that you could call that necessarily fault on one or the other of drivers, but unfortunately, Care Camp's machine now broken for Livingston. Livingston running over in the U.S. IndyCar League, which you see there on his car, and doing quite well. Race winner over there. And we broadcast U.S. IndyCar League on Sundays. It seems as though Livingston there on your screen didn't know that he didn't have a rear wing, and he was trying to get that car going again. But everybody safely manages to get back around after that. And Daniel Porter, while he's temporarily being shown in first, having gained 20 spots, he's now in the pits receiving service.
That has changed for sure, yeah.
So he'll fall down through the order. Also seeing AJ Musselman making... So now, this is what we're talking about. This succession of quick cautions is going to allow some of these drivers to get those new tires and be just a little bit fresher than the other drivers at the end of this one, and that could play the whole role.
Tank there. I don't see him. I don't know if he went up on the jacks at all, but I don't see. Okay, yeah, he did get a new set, so he only went 19 laps on that set of tires. So 26 on his first set, 19 on his second set. So this is his last set. That he has nothing else. If there's a late caution, he's brought what he's got. He's not getting anything else.
So who else has taken all of their sets of tires, and who, or if it's a smaller list, who still has tires to take that's in the top?
Positions 1 through 14 all have an extra set of tires that there is available to them into the pits. Starting from position 15 on down, with the exception of Livingston. Livingston's only on his second set so far. Smith is, but he's out right now. I think, but it's still showing him as a part of an active pit stop. So I don't know if he has some active repairs going on. It shows him with the new set on his second set. But everybody from 14th on up is on their second set, so they have one more set in the pits. Okay,
so now you know that, for example, Varela, if he can make it to the end, he's probably not going to pit to take fresh tires. But essentially, if you're watching and you're behind, say, Tommy G or Diaz Francis, and they elect to come in and take tires, wouldn't you, if you were behind them, wouldn't you follow suit, come in and take those tires, or would you just elect to stay out? And this is assuming that we have another yellow, because they wouldn't do this, obviously, under green flag.
I'd stay out. We've seen how difficult it is for the car on the top side to, and typically here at this track, historically, the top side is where the winner typically comes from in these close races. But what we're seeing here is that the bottom is the faster line, and the top line isn't quite getting that run that we've seen in the real life races here, getting that real run happen off of that launch off the corner. About the only line that we've seen that actually gets any type of forward momentum and it kind of stalls out after a while is the top line coming off of 2 down the backstretch. But that kind of stalls out once you get into 3 because you kind of hit the rev limiter and you got nowhere else to go.
Yeah, there's nowhere else to go. Sadly, you hit the end of your rope, and that's about as far as you can go. Good to have Thomas Christensen checking in with us on YouTube. Sad that it's under such difficult circumstances, telling us that that's the end of his race for the day. And also, we got a check-in from Hugo Olsen, and he was just letting me know that his Swedish NASCAR race actually ran long, so he wasn't able to make it into this week's race. And some of the drivers ahead of time had expressed that they'd already been in a couple of races at Chicagoland this week. They weren't necessarily looking forward to doing another one. It's, as you can tell, it's just one of these tracks where somebody gets loose in front of you, you very easily could get wiped out. There's also very little opportunity to pass at the front, so it's just, you get a certain number of drop weeks, and there might be some dates that you might circle. This might be one of them, but actually a lot of the front runners showing up this week, which is just awesome to see. And again, we'll look forward to seeing Hugo Olsen next week, and of course he'll have the same opportunity to make up the points and possibly take over the points towards the middle or the end of this season.
But once again, let's watch this start. Let's watch these Mass Devils all coordinate this start. At least the first 2 guys. Watch the gap they put on Tommy G here.
And we do
not
watch.
So much this time. I think Tommy was ready for it.
Tommy's ready for it. Fool me once, fool me twice. Okay,
Yeah,
by the time it's the 3rd time, I'm gonna get that one right, Tommy G says. I mean, you do watch it. I think if somebody doesn't vary their start strategy up in the front very much, if they have a particular way that they like to start, you get used to that. You figure it out. Okay, now I know where you're gonna pull the trigger. Oh, it's getting competitive here.
Pablo Diaz-Francis put a heck of a block on Orman there. Wow, I'm going to guess Jasper's not very happy about that one.
I know Jesper is not happy about that one, and I don't think that he wants to be racing so close to Pablo Diaz-Francis at the moment. But we watch it. These 2 competitors love racing hard, and they are very used to going door handle. Well, not door handle to door handle, but side pod to side pod with their competitors as hard as possible without making contact. 4 wide on the backstretch.
The wing tip, yeah.
And Jesper using up all that draft and now sucking it up into 3rd place. Pablo Diaz-Francis tried the break. Oh, and there, as you said, Gary, Orman now down to the inside, but that arrow push is going to be just probably too much to try to hang out there. 4 wide once again on the backstretch.
So watch this as we're coming through the corners. Watch LDR. He's going to dip down a little bit. He's going to flash some bad air. He's going to flash some dirty air at Jasper. Jasper's going to have to roll out of it. He's going to have a little bit of a push, and we're cautioned again.
And caution, I do not see what it is. Franzoni, we'll go to that. And Masato Shimizu.
Oh, 2 cars, yeah.
And once again, we're just a little too far into it, so we're going to back it up and check this out.
Netcode, massive netcode.
Well, these drivers connecting from almost opposite sides of Asia and Europe. And we'll watch it in full speed here. These 2 drivers side by side. Oh, that was 5 feet of...
Yeah, there's no fault to anybody there. Masato and Rodrigo, hopefully they go back and look at the replay and realize not to get upset at each other. That's just bad predictive code for bad. What it is predictive collision code. And that's just what defines what netcode is. And that's what happened there is we got one guy coming in from Japan and we got another guy coming in from Europe.
So and unfortunately just destroying those Indy cars, just laying debris all over the track. Those owners will be furious, have to write those large repair bills. And we just watched the destruction continue in our replay there. Unfortunately, all joking aside, that does end Franzoni's chance at today's win, and he was such a star last week until getting taken out, unfortunately. And Shimizu, it's always great to get different competitors hopping in from all around the world. And so losing a couple of competitors there, just kind of the same thing. 2-car incidents. It only takes 2 to tango, but unfortunately, it seems to be one getting the dance move wrong most of the time and stepping on the other's foot. But
the one with the 2 left feet, unfortunately. But we got 20 to go. We get like a couple more laps here under caution before we resume. I'm really expecting the guys from like 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, somewhere in there. I expect them to really put the press on now and start making the run up to the front. So this is going to get really hairy coming up, and it's going to get really exciting. Do we want to prepare the cameras for the photo finish? I think we want to. There's no guarantee because the Monday strength of field race ended under caution, and the rate we're going here, I wouldn't be surprised if we ended under caution here, but I really want to see a photo finish.
Absolutely. Fourth caution, and we await to see how this one will end up. The sign seems to point to yellow, but we don't know. It's been 3 wide. It's been 4 wide. I don't know if you can pull off 3 and 4 wide down the front stretch. I don't know how iRacing would look at a dive down to the apron there last minute for a race win.
Well, but, it's open. The apron is actually open. The rules will allow you to run it, and no one has in this race. I saw them run it in quals, which people often do. You can run the apron in the race. It's legal, but it's a little stupid sometimes. And I don't mean that in a negative way. And just like you go down there and you're unloading the car when you want to get back up on the banking, because there is banking there in the front stretch. It's 11 degrees. It unloads the car, and it's a potentially dangerous situation where you can take out a whole swath of cars behind you when you wreck coming back up onto the banking. I've also seen a number of replays that people submitted this week of a car gets a run, it goes ahead and tries to pass them on the apron, and then when they realize they need to get back on the track in order to make turn 1, they shoot back up on the apron and end up wrecking themselves in the car that they were trying to pass on the outside. So most people, I think it's more of a gentleman's agreement to stay off the apron, but when it comes time for that checker, sometimes the smart cells take a back seat to the cells that say, I want to go fast.
The only thing that matters is that first place, and everything else takes a back seat for a second. Well, we might see that here. A lot of these drivers are going to be anxious to get that win. Technically higher strength of field than Monday, not going to matter that much for points, especially with Hugo Olsen not being here in this race, and but that will give their competitors obviously a chance with an easy win. So Jorge Varela can do some good work for himself in the points, etc., by the fact that Olsen isn't here, and also Pinero not here. So a chance to kind of climb up over those drivers, assuming that they don't come back for the rest of the weeks and manage to get those top positions. But you're always trying to figure that out with the championship. My strategy for the championship, just go hard every single week. Show up if you can.
As best you can, yeah.
And just try to win. Just every single race, just try to win. And that's what some of these drivers are definitely going to do today. Will they be aggressive, go down there to that apron or not? It is kind of a gray area move, but hey, we got 19 to go. Anything can happen, and certainly 3 and 4 wide is a possibility. It's Mass Devils Racing's Jorge Varela.
I'm looking down at back of P5. Big gap with Gonzalez and Ike for some reason. I don't know if he was looking to try to get a run, or maybe he was doing little team orders, trying to hold people from P5 on back at bay to let these top 5 kind of go at it. Top 6 kind of go at it. I don't know, but he wasn't close on that restart. But once again, the Mass Devils time their restart together, but Yasmin's not looking to get away, and neither is Tommy G. And just give you an idea of what you can get on a photo finish here. The 7th closest finish in IndyCar history here which was 0.099 seconds, and that was Sam Hornish over Scott Dixon. Well, Dixon was down on the apron. The third place car was actually in the bottom lane. Sam Hornish was in the top lane. The bottom lane was third place. It was Brian Herta, and he actually lost that race by a nose. So it's the closest 1-2-3 finish in history, and that's utilizing that apron is the way that came around.
Fascinating stuff. Gary Godso, our resident encyclopedia of IndyCar here. And it's a great racing track. Again, we can't do pack racing anymore in real life. Just too darn dangerous. We've lost a couple of drivers that way, but still, it's so much fun we can do here on iRacing, and the track itself is great. Unfortunately, Chicagoland, as we're now looking 4 wide into the corners,
it's looking like a formation of that the Thunderbirds or the Blue Angels would run here. Oh, look at Pablo Diaz. Not very smart, but he goes ahead and does it anyways. 4 wide. Tommy G probably is not too happy about that. And if I know him well enough, he's rolled out of it. He's probably not happy. He's probably like, that's a stupid move. That's not really smart, but we're getting down here to the last 15 laps, and I think patience are running out for some people.
Well, he split LDR and Geisler, and now he's hanging out in third. He's managed to steal that spot from Geisler. You see Jesper Orman in the golden blue machine sitting down there in fourth on the bottom line. And just behind, we've got Tommy G, Alvaro Gonzalez, Andreas Ike. There's Aaron McQuarrie back up there in the mix again, and Matthew Turner.
Yeah. Matthew Turner. I mean, he's been just hanging around. He's keeping it clean. We're getting down to less than 20 to go, and there he goes. We're far wide again going into turn 3.
We are 3 by 3, and this is some crazy stuff here.
There's a contact. There's what we're talking about.
Big incident.
Right, Tommy G. Tommy G got taken out there.
Oh.
And we're not gone yellow. We're still green. We're not gone yellow, so they're keeping their foot in it.
Tommy G and Alvaro Gonzalez. You see Dave Stedman there having to slow down for the incident.
Hopefully that was cleared up by the time they get around. They're getting ready to exit turn 4 right now.
Gabriel Amer also having to slow down. Tommy G frustrated, running around the bottom with 11 to go, and now he's going to be right in the middle of the racetrack. And here they come. How is this going to work out? They barely split him. That's some scary stuff.
Oh, and there's another car up high.
And he's being slammed into.
Yeah, those guys needed to be on the apron. I mean, I mean, I'm not being critical. I'm not trying to call anybody out, but those cars belonged on the apron. The fact that they are in the racing line in the middle of a green flag run is a little irresponsible.
Well, that's never what you want to see in one of these races, Gary. That's unfortunate for a number of these competitors. We're going to try to sort this one out as we're under caution again for the 5th time today. Watching the iRacing NTT IndyCar Series FIXED right here on VirtualRacing.Network. And it's been a chaotic one as of late. Everything looked so orderly and fashioned. And now we've had a couple of incidents that have kind of shaken everything loose. Let's see if we can jump back and see where this all began. We're just going to go back and see if we can find here in the yellow flag situation. Who was that at the top? That looks like Alvaro Gonzalez possibly spinning about. So we'll back it up from that point. And so as you can see, Gonzalez running up in the top groove as the big pack comes around.
I don't know why he had a hard time to get down. I don't know why he didn't choose to get down.
And that's what it's like to...
and then he gets clipped by McQuarrie, and it's just...
Well, there's also a section in the book by Brandon Trano on racing etiquette. And for anybody who wants to learn about some of those things, about how to be lapped or how to deal with damage once it's on the car, you might check that section because there's some different tips in there. But yeah, Gary...
you know, I would expect that in a bottom split race, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't mean to be critical of these guys, but you know, that's kind of my role here as a color commentator, and that was a really dumb move. And unfortunately, that impacted McQuarrie. I don't know if he has damage, but there was contact and it impacted another car. And there's just no reason for it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But also, you know, sometimes you question why iRacing doesn't throw cautions. And I guess that you maybe need to come to a complete stop in the racing line to kick off one of those. But if that's real racing, that's under caution. Man, he had so much time to get to the bottom. I just don't know why he didn't opt to take time to get to the bottom. I'm watching in the chat. He was typing, you know, go high. I'm staying high. Why are you staying high? You shouldn't even be on the racetrack. Go low.
Certainly not when you can't hold the speed. You're not. It's not safe for you to be out there. Obviously, they didn't give him a black ball, so he wasn't forced to make the pit stop yet. But yeah,
I mean, they haven't completed their lap from when they wrecked on the tri-oval the lap prior. So they're still trying to get around and get to the pit. So they're still rolling. So if you're still rolling, I mean, most cars are wanting to get back around so they avoid the tow and avoid, you know, sitting there doing nothing, watching time tick off. As in the meantime, cars on the track when you lap down. They're wanting to try to get back to the pits and in the process maybe get one position up on the other guy. And every position counts if you're in the championship for that matter. Yeah, just I don't know. I mean, you at home, you can go ahead and make comment on that one as well. I mean, should he have been down there on the apron?
Absolutely.
Should he have been up there at the top? Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. And so be it. But man, I would be doing everything I could to get to the bottom and out of the way after that contact, or I would come to a complete stop and punch out. So I would get a reset to the toe to the pits, just so I would not put myself in a situation that just happened.
Unfortunately, getting a check-in from the chat room from Guillermo Paccarel, who's out of the race, not happy, and Franzoni, same thing, not happy. Velocity Online Racing checking in, letting us know that should be protested for sure. And, well, we'll leave that to those competitors, but that's a rough one, and certainly something that could fall under the reckless driving category. Good news is, looking at Aaron McQuarrie, it does not appear as though he has any damage at the moment, and so we'll have to see if he can hold speed. But for those who are the McQuarrie fans out there, they'll be interested to know he is still in this one. We're about to get back underway here with 7 to go.
Yeah.
It's if you thought it was getting urgent before, it's getting twice as urgent now. Who will it be at the end of 7 laps? It looks like Ike got really held up back there. And so this one's spreading out a little bit, but as you know, it will come back together quite quickly. So it's Varela and LDR still at the front. Yeah, a number of drivers really dropping back on that start. But Diaz Francis in third, out to the high side once again. Jesper Orman, Andreas Ike just behind in fourth and fifth. Matthew Turner forming in sixth. That's where he qualified. Aaron McQuarrie.
I guarantee that Nacho LDR is playing wingman right now, and he'll want to go for the win. He'll try to do so on the last lap, but he is wingman. He does not want Pablo Diaz-Francis to get down there in that next high number 2 lane. It's called the number 2 lane from the left. He does not want Pablo Diaz-Francis to get down there and get really close to his teammate. And if I look under Orman, Orman's going to go underneath there. So he tried to shut the door on Orman trying to stick his nose down there, but washes up. And so now it's kind of allowing Valera to kind of pull away a little bit.
Well, you got to be careful. You can maybe make a move, but you can't make a couple of moves. That could potentially be protested as well. Orman is going to have to pick and choose how he wants to come forward, but Varela can't be in 2 places at once, so he can't block both the outside and the inside. Someone's going to get by at some point. Will it be Ike? Will it be Diaz to the front? And as you said, he's trying his best to be wingman for Varela, but unfortunately, I think Diaz has something else to say about that. Now Diaz and Orman side by side as we've got just 2 to go.
Varela's starting to pull away a little bit. I mean, this is a big gap for this type of racing.
Absolutely, but that could be just due to the fact that they're weaving around behind him. And really, Nacho LDR being the ultimate teammate wingman, doing some serious fending off.
Let me shout out my man, Muscleman. Look at he's all of a sudden into the picture. He's on the bottom side. He's up in the top 10.
Indeed, Muscleman, as we start our final lap, he's emerged. Who will it be at the end of this one? It's Varela, LDR, and it's Macquarie. He's gone around. We're still green here. It's Varela, LDR, Orman on the outside, and Diaz Francis in fourth. Orman to the outside as we come to the line. It's Diaz Francis down to the inside. Francis steals second.
Told you they'd use it.
Diaz Francis certainly used it to his advantage. He steals second.
087 is what I got on the ticker. 0.087 is the gap.
Well, once again, these drivers looking for any advantage to get by. The winner, Jorge Varela, but unable to do so. He managed this race perfectly with a little bit of help from someone named Nacho LDR, who was essentially the perfect tail gunner, didn't make contact, certainly swerved his car all around a bit and kept some drivers from attacking, especially Pablo Diaz Francis. With the way that Francis was able to use the apron there on the very last lap, it's a question as to how many more laps LDR would have been able to hold off Francis. But nevertheless, it is Varela taking that win, the number one car, showing that that number means something, and his experience coming through here big time, just like it was in the first week. Quite an interesting race, a lot of cautions. Unfortunately, I think it was Macquarie who did get caught up in that last lap incident. We also had Matthew Turner, but I don't know who got turned. I know Macquarie was up there. Let's see if we can go back to this incident from Matthew Turner, where he went off track. I think that was just at the end, pulling it in, but quite an amazing race. Don't really know what to say. Varela, Pablo Diaz Francis, Nacho LDR. If you looked at that on paper, you'd be pretty much inclined to believe that it was a straightforward race, because that's where they started, first, second, and third. Nevertheless, it was such an exciting race. 3 wide, 4 wide at any given time, and Jesper Orman, as well as Diaz Francis, possibly looking like they could take a shot at the win. Nevertheless, we go back to the live picture. We'll get the race results up here on the screen for you. And it's official now. Jorge Varela, your winner for Mass Devils Racing, with Pablo Diaz Francis for Necky Racing Team in second, Nacho LDR for Mass Devils in third, and then 2 drivers for Three Crowns Racing, Jesper Orman and Matthew Turner, Andreas Eick for Team Talon, AJ Musselman there.
He had the purple lap too, so he broke up the Grand Slam. Jorge finished first, started first, and led every single lap. And he led every single lap at a track that is a pack racing track. That's hard. That's really hard. But he got the triple, but didn't get the Grand Slam. Musselman caught it from him. He got a 24.674 purple lap there, so he'll get the fastest lap honors. But yeah, the Iberians, man, they're bringing their oval game.
I mean, it's indisputable. We've seen it here on broadcast each and every week, and the Spanish drivers really coming forward and making their presence known. From my standpoint, now, of course, I'm not out there competing against them every single week, but I just love having that benchmark be set really high. A great team with great coordination, great teams with great coordination, great communication amongst them to get those top finishes. So why don't we go ahead and talk with, I've got our 4th place finisher, Jesper Orman, just able to join us. Hey, Jesper, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Jesper,
has your heart rate dropped yet, or is it still the same?
Oh man, that was intense. Wow. What a track. What a setup.
Well, you started off in 8th. Now, first of all, Did your qualifying go the way that you wanted it to? Did you care that you were going to start from 8th, or were you just planning that this race was going to be crazy? You're going to need to work your race strategy.
My quality wasn't very good at all. So starting P8, I just figured, okay, let's hope this race goes green. I'll save as much fuel as I can. I was in map mode 5 there for the entire first stint. And, well, it kind of looked like it would go green for a period there. But then it all started, and did we have 5 or 6 yellows? That was a bit too much, I think.
Yeah.
5 yellows for 19 laps.
Should have been 6 or 7, to be honest with you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
But the race now, when we came down to the very end, Jesper, talk us through from the white flag lap, because that was pretty exciting from your position. We'll be watching this. So you come up to the white flag, you're on the outside, you've got third place almost sewn up on the outside, you're possibly looking at second or first, you duck back in through 1 and 2. From that point, you didn't really have any choice. You shoot back to the outside on the backstretch, and then there's not really anywhere to go. Were you trying to plan something to maybe be able to overtake them on the outside, or were you just kind of hoping that something broke loose?
Yeah, you got to set it up like Pablo did. I was trying to do kind of the same thing, and I was planning on going on the apron in the last corner there, but turned out I was a bit too close to Nacho, so I had to bail out. And what could have been maybe a P2 came a P4, but that's at least some points, so I can't be too unhappy with that. But I mean, this track and those Masked Devils guys up there, I mean, Nacho, he is a Robin to Jorge.
Told you. I told you in the broadcast, I called him the wingman. I told him he was protecting the outside and he was not going to let anybody come to the outside.
I mean, I would have wished that maybe he had some ambitions to win the race, but okay, he didn't get P2 at least, so that's something at least.
Well, and from your own standpoint, each and every week you're having great races here in the Fixed Series, another top 5. I mean, you're right there in the points chase, and it really is anybody's championship going forward. So you've got to feel good about that. You were in the fight here. If there was any way to make a pass around, second and first, you might have had a chance at a win. So it's got to feel good to be competitive. And you also have a great team in Three Crowns Racing with IAR.
Yeah, thanks. Absolutely. Bit unlucky there for Thomas to get taken out by, I think it was a spinning car in front of him. It's just things that happen, and you can't do anything about it. And Matt had a good result today as well. So that's it was a decent day for us at least.
Well, a decent day, but you live to fight another day, and it was fun in yesterday's race over at PMRL, and of course you get to reset for next week. But of course you'll probably be doing a little bit more practice, get ready for next week. But something I noticed in the replay, as I've got it held up on the screen there, you actually had a little bit of damage to your left. There's some scrapes on the left front of your wing, so I don't know if that affected your top speed at all, but I know anytime I see those scrapes on my car, it usually equates to a mile an hour or 2 lost. Nevertheless, banging wheels and getting a little dirty at some point out there, just for getting your hands dirty and having a good time and ending up in 4th place. Congrats with the 4th.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks. I'll talk to you after the race and get your real opinion. Thank you so much, Jesper.
Have a good one.
You as well. And
it's the opinion not fit the print. That's the one.
Not with the broadcast regulations set by iRacing. We can't have honest conversations like that. But Gary, that was really interesting to watch, and also with Jesper coming in there. You know what? Hey, can we get Jesper just one more time? Hey, Jesper, are you still around?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Hey, bud, I forgot to get see, now you can probably say whatever you want in Swedish. So without Hugo being here, especially, you can say whatever you want. Go ahead.
Sure. Ja, de här spanjackerna där framme, de är ju inte att lita på helt enkelt. Man får kämpa och Det kommer lite fler race nu så att vi svenskar och engelsmän, vi får hålla ihop lite. Kanske även någon norrbagge kanske kan hjälpa till. Så att vi tar de här spanjackerna, för att det börjar bli tyvärr en vana att de är med där uppe och att de vinner de här racen. Så att det måste vi ändra på.
Well, there you go. Summarize what was it that you told us?
Yeah, I asked all Swedes, Norwegians, and English and UK drivers to team up against the Spaniards. They're winning too many races right now.
Well, I'm sure they'll say the same about you guys. You Swedish and all around your area are
The
notorious.
NATO racing team.
Oh yeah. But anyway, it's fun. I'm glad everybody gets to get out there and have a great time. And for those of you that want to chat more with Three Crowns Racing, Jesper Orman, you can find them over on Twitter at 3crowns_racing. Thanks again, Jesper. See you next week.
Thanks, Trevor and Gary.
Absolutely, our pleasure. Okay, well, let's go ahead and bring in Pablo Diaz-Frances. You saw it today. Exciting racing from the Necky Racing Team driver, who has been absolutely in the front each and every week. On Monday, he was up there in the front leading the race, and unfortunately, lap car got in the way, causing issues, and he lost that race, but able to bring it together here and get a second place for Necky Racing. Congratulations, Pablo Diaz-Frances.
Good night, guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, and as you said, I got that bad luck in the Monday race, and luckily we are here on P2.
P2. It's got to feel good, but there was so much work from Mass Devils Racing. At one point, 3 or 4 cars from Mass Devils Racing at the front, and pretty much just Pablo Diaz-Frances for Necky Racing Team to try to get forward. What was your strategy knowing that Mass Devils Racing was so strong in this race?
Well, first of all, my strategy was trying to make the pole position, but it was the only chance to be a little bit safer and win the race maybe. And the only thing, like Jesper said, is a green flag race, and the pit stop strategy could make it all. I was saving fuel like him, and yeah, I was thinking that we are gonna pit on green flag, but unfortunately it wasn't. Yeah, Nacho, to be honest, it wasn't really. I mean, he wasn't doing really nothing bad. I mean, you can pass the leader, and of course, his teammate, so he has to stay outside. I don't see anything bad there. It's a normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, I will try to finish P3, stay on the outside of him. In the last laps, I said, I can do that move that I did, but to maybe finish second. And yeah, I knew that I couldn't win the race. That it's impossible to win the race. It's impossible to pass the leader with this setup, unless a lap car crash or whatever. So yeah, I did the move. I had enough room. Luckily, Jesper had in the room, so I did it. Yeah.
You did it. I'm watching right now. You were on the very last lap. You are on the outside, 4 wide on the backstretch, and we've got this on the screen now. So then as you go forward, you're realizing this. I'm on the outside. You're going into turn 3. At what point do you decide I'm going to try to cross over, go underneath Jesper, go underneath Nacho LDR, and come down all the way to the bottom and go to the apron?
Using that momentum coming off the apron, or coming off the banking there, is kind of what propelled him, really.
So you make that decision and come down to hit the apron. Gary and I were talking ahead of time. Oh, and I see where Jesper just made contact with Nacho LDR there. So that was where that contact happened. But Pablo deciding to use the apron. And so Pablo, we just saw, and looking behind, Matthew Turner and AJ also choosing to use the apron. But you did not use it during the race. And was that because you felt like that might be a problem and a competition issue? Or were you just really thinking, I'll save this for the very last lap?
Well, iRacing said that using the apron is completely legal in that type of track, but here I don't see much use. It's not useful to use because the leader is holding the inside on the track, and if I go to the in the apron, I maybe lost it or something,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe I didn't have room to go up again. So I don't have to do that because it's dangerous. So yeah, my only chance was that I bet for that and I won it.
It looked so good. You looked competitive all day, and a very clean race from you as well, Pablo. You brought NTT Racing up to the front, and nobody
Yeah.
else to help you to do that. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Any other shout outs to any other to your teammates or to any of your sponsors?
Spanish.
Absolutely, please, in español.
Muchas gracias como siempre a los chavales que están ahí apoyando, aunque ahora estábamos un poco liados con lo de la Balloon World Cup. Y bueno, ya que el Jesper ha dicho lo de la alianza nórdica, bueno, pues habrá que demostrarles quién manda. That's all.
Awesome. What did you say?
Jesper said that make a Nordic alliance, so I said that let's see who's better. The Spanish maybe are better than them.
It's been noticeable, the Spanish teams, especially Mass Devils Racing and NTT Racing team. You guys will have to fight it out for who's the best between NTT Racing and Mass Devils Racing, but nevertheless, the Spanish, I thought it was the Brazilians who were the best for a while, but now you Spanish are absolutely at the top. You're leading the points. It's got to feel good right now, Pablo Diaz. You are right there, man.
Yeah, I feel good because I said the last race was really bad. I mean, the Monday race and redemption Thursday in the Thursday race.
Well, you got it. This was only 3, I think. The strength of field was only 3 iRating higher than the Monday race.
It was almost the same.
Exactly. But you get redemption, and that's the great part about racing more than one race a week. If you don't have the race on Monday, you can come back on Thursday and get it too. So, well, congratulations, Pablo, and thank you so much for being with us in the series and being part of Championship Thursday here at VirtualRacing.Network. We look forward to seeing you and your Spanish NTT Racing teammates as well as the rest of the cast next week.
Thank you, guys. See you on the next week.
Absolutely. So Pablo Diaz-Francis joining us here for post-race interviews, having finished second place here at Chicagoland. Gary, what a heck of a race. It was just fun. I don't think we're going to see anything quite like this again.
Well, let me look at the schedule going forward. Now, just on speaking for Pablo, I bet he's going to go back to his teammates and tell them to either have them enter this Thursday race so they could get into the strength of field race for him, or bring their iRating up so they can get into the strength of field race team top split with them. Because obviously you saw today the power of what a teammate can do for you in iRacing and IndyCar racing. And Formula One, your teammate is your enemy. In IndyCar, your teammate is your best friend. So we saw that as plain as day on the racetrack again. Also, another thing I want to look at is the again if you bring up the qualifying numbers, it was just as close this week as it was last week in Charlotte. If you were a 10th off, you started 14th. And so when Jesper said I had a bad qual for him was 0.66 off the leader.
That's
0.66 off the leader.
In most races, that will put you third
second.
or fourth.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how semi-critical qualifying was with us. Not so much. I mean, the draft's going to bring you back up. So we saw that the power of qualifying good. Obviously, Varela took the lead, kept the bottom, held it for the entire race. Racing with teammates, how the benefit of racing with teammates. People racing with patience. We did see some of that, but unfortunately, some of those folks got taken out late. I think McQuarrie raced with a ton of patience. He did exactly what I would have done, and unfortunately was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, trying to come to the checkers there at the end. But we got to go. We have to go through this a couple more times this year. We still have Auto Club next week. We still have Daytona to go. We still have what's going to probably be a pack race at Dover still to go. So these guys are going to have to get used to being in close proximity to each other for a couple more times this season, and also in a position, putting themselves in a position where they're going to get in the lead, and no matter what they do and no matter what their skill level is, they're never going to pull out front because of the nature of the setup and the way these cars run. So it's these guys are just going to have to kind of get used to this pack racing a couple more times as the season goes on, because we got some packy tracks coming up.
Packy tracks, fortunately. Packy tracks, but fortunately, they're not necessarily just go down and sit on the white line and nobody can pass you style tracks.
Maybe at Dover, but we'll see. But I was thoroughly entertained today. I hope everyone else at home was entertained. I hope everyone had a good time watching this. It's very similar to the Monday race. I'm 19% Scandinavian, so I can help out those guys here in the League of Nations against the Spanish. But the Iberians 1 through 4 on the top step, or at least the first four spots here in the standings. They even had Iberians finished 4 of the top 7, actually, as a matter of fact. So the strength of the center of power for IndyCar racing is now shifted a little bit from Brazil now to Spain. Scandinavians and the Americans and the Europeans need to step it up.
Well, it doesn't matter who you're going to meet for what nationality. I think if you're going to show up in one of these top split races, especially Monday night or Thursday for Championship Thursday, you better bring your A game, and you better hope that you got a lot of friends in that field who can help you out. And if you got friends in there, well, you just hope that it's teammates you get along with, and you hope that it's a Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello style teammate situation and not one of the more competitive ones. Either way, what will happen next week at Auto Club Speedway just really makes you want to tune in and show up and find out. We'll be at the same place next week. Great to have Nick DeGroot joining us there. He says he was thinking about joining, but it was a little scary. He wasn't brave enough for this one. Also, Nash Rally joining us. Thank you, everybody, for joining us as you do each week. Make sure to subscribe and like down in the comments. We also have added a way for you to be able to contribute to VirtualRacing.Network as we do all of these races for free for the competitors and all of the leagues that we cover. Up next on VirtualRacing.Network will be on Sunday. The U.S. IndyCar League resumes action in Season 12. You'll want to check that out. Make sure to subscribe and get notified of that race as well. So, on behalf of myself, Trevor Greenfield, and the great Gary Godso, which you can find over on Twitter, make sure to send all those comments for today's race to @GaryGodso over on Twitter. In the meantime, you can find VirtualRacing.Network on Twitter too, @VirtualRacing. And until next week at Auto Club, see ya. Have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye, everybody.